Do you live in Henderson, Nevada? Are you looking for a really hot sports bar? It's called Johnny Mac's. Johnny Mac raised the bar on chicken wings, fresh every day, fried in no trans fat rice oil, served the old-fashioned buffalo way, as hot as you can stand it, 3 to 4 alarm fire or 4 famous sauces also. The magic vibe, that's free with every order. Make new friends over a brew. J-Max on Boulder Highway in Henderson, now is on Water Street in Old Henderson.
Oh my God.
You're listening to Renegade Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, good morning. This is Betsey Bell. We are at the Double B Studios in Las Vegas, Nevada for a show. And today, my friends, is Friday the 13th. Did you know? Friday the 13th has always been the luckiest day of my life. Why, I don't know. I just know for all of you out there, if you have a black cat, just pay attention to where he's walking. My show today is an interview, and the interview is with Bobby Kahn. Bobby is running for Congress in the state of Nevada. You're right, my audience. Why should you care? Well, I think that Bobby Kahn is saying what we have for a very long time wanted to hear a candidate say, but they never do. That is why I decided I wanted you to hear him for yourself. You do not need to agree with me. I have presented content before that you haven't liked, but you thought I didn't know. Well, I know based on my downloads, but I'd prefer that you comment instead. However, that's a topic for another time. I think if candidates would be as thoughtful and have a little more common sense, such as a candidate in Nevada for Congress by the name of Bobby Kahn, our country would be in a very different place. Listen and let me know what you think, my audience. I prefer to hear from you in person, and I'm looking forward to your comments. Thank you, as always.
Oh my God.
You're listening to Renegade Talk Radio. Do you live in Henderson, Nevada? Are you looking for a really hot sports bar? It's called Johnny Mac's. Johnny Mac raised the bar on chicken wings, fresh every day, fried in no trans fat rice oil, served the old-fashioned buffalo way, as hot as you can stand it, 3 to 4 alarm fire or 4 famous sauces also. The magic vibe, that's free with every order. Make new friends over a brew. J-Max on Boulder Highway in Henderson, now is on Water Street in Old Henderson.
Welcome to How Can This Happen? I am here today with a friend of mine, Bobby Kahn, who's going to be running for District 1 in Clark County, Nevada. This is a seat that, hey, Bobby, how are you today?
I'm good.
That's awesome. Okay, this is what we're going to talk about. The seat is held by Dina Titus, and she has been in office since 2014. We are going to work with some different Republican candidates and see which one strikes through. This is the one that I'm counting on. Bobby Kahn. Bobby, tell them.
You're awesome.
Tell them what you want to see happen in this district.
I want to change. The problem is we've had somebody that doesn't understand what the people want and has always gone down party lines. And it didn't matter if it affected the people of our district, our state. Whatever her party said, she did. She's been a puppet for her party. We need people that are business friendly. We need people that understand what the parents want, what the seniors want, what everyday Americans that live in this area want. And we haven't had that. You know, the talking points of the Democrats and even some of these Republicans are so out of touch with reality. You're like, where did you get that? Because it seems like they just go to Fox News or CNN, copy and paste and tell people that's what they're running on instead of actually feeling the pulse. And I'm a realist. I'm a businessman. I'm a father. I've been, done all kinds of stuff in my life where I had to experience ups and downs, and I know what people need.
And Bobby, I also wanted to mention right here at this point, the Democrats are constantly thwarting Republican candidates, and this is how they do it. They put funds into campaigns of Republicans they know they can beat. And they've done
Of course,
it here,
exactly.
and they've done it in Nevada, correct?
Yep, of course, because that makes their life easy. Because if they fund a candidate that is weak and has no spine, they know that, yes, that person will win the primary because of the money, but then has no shot in the general.
So, how are you going to combat that?
Well, the thing is, we have to get to, like President Trump said, too big to rig. And that means not only is it comes down to donations, where we got to get the word out there in donations, but we got to make this a national campaign, not just a local campaign. We need to get attention. So the moment you start getting national attention, all of a sudden people in other areas will listen. And you know what? You'll end up picking up donations. And at the end of the day, you need to be in everybody's face. And if you see me right now, you look at all the other candidates in my primary, you're never going to see any of them out there. I mean, they've all announced way before me. They don't go anywhere. If you go on my social media, I am everywhere every day. My day starts at 5 a.m. And I think the earliest I've been home this week has been midnight. So, I mean, I am out there meeting everyone. Doesn't matter who you are. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, black, blue, purple. I'm meeting you because you know what? People can change their registrations. People can sit there and say, I've never voted, but I understand that this guy has my best interest at heart. I'm a common sense guy. That's pretty much it.
Bobby, that's what everyone needs today. Common sense. That is what is lacking. And that is what you bring to the table.
No, but I don't understand that. Like, how are we in 2025 and nobody applies common sense when it comes to your constituents? You know, it's like very easy. How does this affect my constituents? Will this help my people in my state, my district, and my country? If it doesn't, why are we talking about it?
And it's just like what we're seeing with the riots in California. We have to have law and order. Go ahead.
Here's what I'm going to say. Sorry to interrupt you. And I have a lot to say about a lot of stuff because I'm frustrated. And that's the reason I'm running. I'm not a career politician. I'm running because I sat back and I watched a candidate after candidate just completely screw up. And then there's nobody out there actually helping us. So I said, look, here's the thing. Would you just leave your front door open and allow people to come into your house? You take refuge in your living room, redecorate your room or destroy your house and say, yeah, that's totally fine. And on top of that, I'm going to give you money and I'm going to take care of your kids. But I'm actually not going to take care of my kids. And I'm going to take food away from them to give to you. I don't think you would do that. And
I didn't want to interrupt you, but I wanted to let you know, Bobby, that's what they expect us to do with illegal aliens.
Every country has a border.
Right. Everyone but us.
But exactly. So if you go to, let's just say you go to the Middle East. Guess what? You get a visa for 30 days. If you're not out in 30 days, they're deporting you. And they're not just going to let you cross the border and walk into it. Or if you go to Africa or you go to Europe, there's a border for a reason. Just like you won't allow people into your house, we just can't allow. Okay, you want to come to this country, you got to get vetted. You get vetted, you get a visa, come on in. If that's a 30-day visa, a 6-month visa, a 1 year, I'm okay with that. But my parents came to this country, they got visas to come here. That's how they came. And then obviously they became American citizens.
They didn't send money back to their country they came from either.
No, they came here, they invested in this country. My parents, they came to this country. My dad, when he came to this country, he worked for Hardee's, the fast food chain. And then obviously, Hardee's is the one that gave him his green card and he got his citizenship. And my dad opened up his own restaurants and I worked for him when I was 12 years old until I graduated high school. But that's what he did. He invested back into the community that he lived in and wasn't saying, well, I need to take the money for free and ship it overseas.
Exactly. And then he wasn't saying, like the Mexicans, I'm going to make money in America and send it back to Mexico when we're paying for their health care and possibly welfare too?
Well, here's how I'm going to simplify this. Charity begins at home. And that's the problem with our country for the longest time. We're spending buku billions and trillions of dollars in other countries where the people of this country are suffering. We cannot call ourselves a rich and powerful nation and the greatest nation on earth when we have veterans sleeping in the streets, when veterans aren't getting proper health care, when there's people that are born and raised here are lacking, but yet we are spending billions of dollars a month in Ukraine. You know what? Here's my policy. If you want us to fight your battles, first off, I don't want to send our kids to war. But if you know what, you want us to fight your battles, you better pay for the war. Why are we wasting American tax dollars when we have potholes that can swallow an F-350? Right? We have, when was the last time you had a bridge that you could talk about in the world and say, America just built the world's biggest bridge, or America just built this, or America did this? Our education's failing. Our infrastructure is failing. Our military veterans are struggling and dying and living horrible lives, and their families are suffering. We have the most incarcerated people in the world. And then we have 87% recidivism rate in this country. We have 80 million Americans with a criminal record. We don't even pay attention that our future is bleak because we're not paying attention to the big picture. We're paying attention to whatever Fox News or CNN's telling us to do. Meanwhile, the rest of the country is just falling apart.
Exactly. And you know what, Bobby? I'm going to give you a break here because I have a couple more questions. But in the meantime, I want you to know, my audience, this man has it together. He's the guy that we need in Congress in the state of Nevada. We're going to be right back.
Oh my God.
You're listening to Renegade Talk Radio.
This is Betsey Bell. Welcome back. We are here today with Bobby Kahn, who is running against Dina Titus in District 1 to be a congressman for the state of Nevada. Bobby, we are going to go into some very important issues in this part of the show. What I'm going to do is give it to you, and I'm serving it to you on a silver platter. Go ahead.
Well, here's my thing. My agenda is a common sense agenda. So it doesn't matter if you're a Republican, Democrat, or independent. When you look at my policies on my website, if you go there, it's Bobby Kahn for Congress, Kahn, K-H-A-N, for Congress.com. And what I focus on is how can I help the people of our district, our state, and our country? So let's just take common sense once again. Cash reporting laws. One of the things I want to do is change that. Currently, the cash reporting law is $10,000, where basically if you go into a bank or a casino or a car dealership, if you give more than $10,000 in cash, they got to fill out paperwork. Well, when you look at the casinos, do you know how much paperwork they have to do? In order to do something like that, they got to take somebody off the floor to do the paperwork. But that law was put into effect in 1972 by Richard Nixon, when in 1972, you could buy a house for $10,000. Our laws are not being upgraded. They're antiquated. Nobody goes back and says, hey, that law was good back then, but now we need to adjust it for the times and make life easy for businesses. So my propose is that we should update it to $100,000. If you've already paid the taxes on it, make it simple for businesses and go from there. The other one, I want to eliminate taxes for veterans. If you serve this nation, you don't need to pay another dollar. That's the least we can do. We have seen through Doge that there's so much money being wasted. We can go without the money collected from income tax from veterans. And I don't care if you say, well, the guy left the military and now is making $1 million a year. Good for him. I hope he makes $10 million a year, but he should not pay. Him and his family have paid the most amount that they should ever have to pay for this nation. And that's it. We respect them. Let them live in dignity. Another thing, I want to eliminate taxes on gambling winnings. We're a gambling state. You win a jackpot, you win a jackpot for, let's just say $3,000, right? They got to shut the table down and do paperwork for the next 20 minutes. That's revenue lost for the casino. And now you have to pay taxes on winnings that you won based off of money that you had already paid income tax on to use to play the game. We don't need it. $17 billion was collected last year. We can go without the $17 billion and we'll be totally fine. But that gives people money to put back into the economy. It makes life easy for the businesses. And just like this, one after the other, my policies are very common sense policies.
I'm not going to excuse myself for interrupting you. The other thing, Bobby, is If people have money, they will spend it. But
Absolutely they will.
if the government takes everything from them, how does the economy keep rolling? People have no money to buy anything.
The government could screw up a ham sandwich. If you give the government endless money, they will find a way to still put us in debt. I'd rather the people have the money than the government. The government needs to get off and start cutting the fat. We have gotten too big, and that's not what our founding fathers wanted. They wanted small government. They wanted more control with the people. It's we the people. And that's what's happening is our government is over now shadowing the people at this point. There comes a time where you have to say, hey, you know what? We got too fat. It's time to get off, and start getting on a diet. And that's what happens.
And I think, Bobby, it's the government that's too fat. The more
the government's too fat.
Right. We paid them all these taxes, and now they have all this power over us. And the forefathers warned us against that. They said, don't let that happen.
Become everything our founding fathers did not want.
Exactly. And one of the things that they didn't want were people to be in office until they die. Yeah, Dianne Feinstein, they had to wheel her in a wheelchair. She didn't even know
I don't even think she was alive at the end when she was voting for the last couple of bills. I think maybe they had a dummy breakfast, weekend at Bernie's. So.
I think they did too. I swear I do.
No, but like Dina Titus, right? You've been in power for so long. You didn't do it. Just do your term and move on. We need term limits. That's one of the things that we have to do. I say Senate's term is way too long. 12 years is way too long if you do 2 terms. And then Congress, there's people that go in there and they're in there for 30, 40 years. You mean to tell me in 30, 40 years, there's not a person born in that state that can do better than that person?
Or that could take their place. That's
because these people are owned by businesses and lobbyists, and basically those companies put in so much money and keep them in power because they own them. These people go into Congress, they're broke. Next thing you know, they're multimillionaires 10 times over. And that's one of the things that we have to stop. We have to make sure that we implement that if you're in Congress, you cannot trade stocks. You cannot sit there and buy stock or do anything when you're actually out there voting on bills that affect these businesses. I mean, you and I would go to prison for insider trading, and these people get away with it.
And they then back themselves up by saying that they're not doing it, and they expect us to believe that. Well, also, Bobby, what I was going to say is the biggest problem is the voters, because the lobbyists control the vote, and so they pay these people to vote. One of the problems is if you have been in Congress forever, they know which ones to pay.
I know, and that's the system. The system is more, I always say this, we talk about banana republics and stuff, and I've sat back and I've watched in the last couple of years and realized, wow, we really have a corrupt system. It's, if you look at it, if it wasn't corrupt, there would be no reason why people are in power for 30, 40 years. It's because the money that flows in, it's endless amounts of money, dark money that comes in and funds these campaigns. And it keeps people, it hurts people because it doesn't actually help the people. It only helps the people that are these lobbyists and the companies that they represent and the organizations that need these people in power.
Exactly. And that's why we have to stop that money. And the only way the voters have of making that change is to stop it. Keep voting them out. I don't care.
Voting them out, and you got to get loud. People nowadays, you have the power. You have social media at your fingertips. You have a phone. You know what? You don't like something? Get on the phone, get on social media, TikTok, Instagram, X, whatever it is, and start talking and drown these people out. If you drown them out, guess what? When people realize, a lot of people are afraid to back somebody that's like, okay, you know what? There's a public shift right now. If you don't like something, get out there and talk about it. I don't know why a lot of people are afraid to go on social media. This is the day and age where you live on social media and drown these politicians out that are in there.
Right, exactly. By saying what you think, and people seem to be hunkered in. One of the reasons that they are has to do with their work environment, has to be with if they're an educator and they have to think a certain way. That has to change by voting the people out. The more new blood you get into office, the better chance we have of making the change.
We need fresh blood. You can't, you watch some of these congressional hearings and these people are out there talking to you like, that was great in 1985, but this is 2025 now. What you're speaking about does not resonate with people of today. They're lost in their own bubble.
Exactly. And so we need to make that change. What we need to do, Bobby, is to start with people like you.
Well, I appreciate it, and that's why I'm doing it.
I am so grateful that you came on with me today. I want to thank you because I know how busy you are.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And how can this happen? Because we've allowed it, my voters. We're going to do everything we can to help Bobby and other candidates like him. Thank you, sir. I appreciate everything
Betsey.
you're doing.
Have a great weekend. Thank you for having me once again.